Welcome, welcome, Joe. We're gonna do a live reading on Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I haven't finished the book, and I'm not gonna start from the beginning. This is like a reaction. I'm just waiting for more people to join. I think I'm on chapter 12 or 13. The book is crazy. If you want no spoilers, I suggest you leave. Yeah, I don't remember what page I was on. And I'm still getting things together. I'm charging my laptop, my phone. Yeah, this is my first time going live. So I'm gonna go charge my electronics and I will be back. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This book is so good. Wow. This book is so good. I did not the writing is so advanced. And the girl was 18 years old when she wrote it. Oh, wow. It's really good book. Surprising. Yeah. I'm just gonna charge my electronics, smoke some weed, and then I'll start my read-through of Frankenstein. Yes, we will be reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know anything about the story. I'm in chapter 12 or 13, and it's so good. That book is so good, man. I'm trying to see if I could set my phone down somewhere. I'm just gonna charge my electronics, and then we could start our read-through of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Let me just take a hit of weed. I don't know how long I will be live. We will see. I see people keep joining, but it says I only have one viewer. So I don't get it. I don't know how this works. This is my first time live. So I don't get how this works. Alright. Again, I don't know how this live feature works. I don't even know if you guys... Can you guys hear me? Is the sound okay? I hope it sounds alright. We're just gonna start, I think. Let me set my phone down, bro. Let's do this. We're about to read some Frankenstein. Yo. You got no idea what's been going on in the book. I've been flipping now at work. Okay. This is not spoiler free. We're in chapter 12, 13, something like that. And shit is crazy. Justine is dead. Damn it. They killed Justine. No, yeah. They killed Justine. Here. We should talk about what's been happening. Where I am in the story. Okay, the story begins, right? And we got the scientist. His name is Victor Frankenstein. And he's just chilling, right? He's a super smart guy. Very nice. He loves his family. And he loves science so much that he wants to do something so good, so great. Something that no other scientist has ever done before, right? which is cool. I can get by that. Now, what's crazy is because it was, olden times. It takes place 17 something. It takes place 17 something, and the story is all like I'm high right now. Okay, I'm a little slow. I'm high, but let me tell you, the story starts. He's a scientist. He's smart, and he loves science, and he just wants to do something great, for the science world. And so he's studying under very old philosophers. He thinks that the older philosophers are like modern scientists or whatever, but there's like better books for him to read. But he wasn't aware. He had only one library to access in the book, and that library only contained biased books. It was like older stuff. It's like I don't have the right word for it, but let me tell you, the story continues, and he's building a monster. Chapter 5, the monster wakes up. That's the best chapter of the book, by the way. Chapter 5. You can argue it was the latest chapter I read, but I think it's chapter 5. The monster first awakens, and it was really cool. The writing was really good, and basically he runs away. The scientist runs away. He leaves his creation. He creates something no scientist has ever done. He did what he wanted to do. He broke barriers, and then he runs away. And yeah, and it's hilarious because throughout the rest of the story, I'm just reading the doctor saying, "Oh, the monster, he's ugly, he's horrendous, he's a devil, he's abhorrent." And Mary Shelley, she's saying like 13 different ways on how to call someone ugly, horrible, nasty, evil, devilish, demon, and it's horrendous, abhorrent. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm just like, bro, how many ways can you say that this creature is evil incarnate? How many ways? She's really good. Like I said, the writing's really intense. I have to reread something multiple times because I just can't like grasp what she's trying to say. And so he runs away from the monster. He's calling it ugly. He goes back home. His little brother William is dead. There's like a mark on his neck. I guess he thinks that his creature did it. So now he wants vengeance. And the story is a little dramatic. It's a little dramatic. The reason hold on, guys. Yeah. So I was just checking something. Yeah, so this story can get a little dramatic. For example, he's all like, he's like chilling with his friend, and like he's all like, "Hey, how are you? How are you? Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good." And then his friend's like, "Hey, bro, are you okay?" And then Frankenstein's like, "Oh, I created a monster," and it's like kind of dramatic, and it's like it's a little weird, but it was written in 1818, so I understand. I do get it. It's an old book. They talk differently. I just wish that it wasn't as dramatic. That it was a little realistic, but it's okay. It's just an old book. And so Frankenstein finds this he finds out his brother's dead, and then the cousin Justine, blames herself because I guess she was playing hide and seek with him, and then she couldn't find him, and then they found him dead. So she thinks it's all her fault. And I'm just like, okay, like, to be honest, that's kind of weird. She's all like, this is what God wants. So if this is what God wants, I'm just gonna do it, you know? Bitch, do whatever you want. You didn't kill him. And she's telling the court she killed him. But she didn't. And it's just like, what? It was hilarious. And so they gave her the death penalty. And that's 2 family members gone. And Victor Frankenstein, do you take blinkers? No, I don't. I don't think that's healthy. But I try. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. You want me to take one right now? Here's a blinker for you, buddy. Here's a blinker. It's turning on. It's turning on. So, yeah. Justine died. William died. It's very... I was freaking out at work. I was working when I read that, and I was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. You know, that was not a blinker. That was not a blinker. Let me get a drink of water. Yeah. It's crazy. So they die, and then Frankenstein takes some time by himself, and you got a flash goal. What's a flash goal? 3 gifters send rose to your... What is that? Flash goal. Achieve this when 3 gifters send rose. I don't know what that is. I don't understand. I don't get TikTok. Claudia Vasquez and TikTok Universe in Mara. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know TikTok, so there's like shit popping up on my screen. I'm like, Marvin Gaye sent TikTok Universe to Millie. Why am I getting these notifications on my live feed? Sent TikTok. What the fuck is TikTok Universe? Blah, blah, blah sent TikTok Universe to Kleber Nito? What is going on to Alex? I don't know. I don't know. I'm old. I'm reaching my 30s now. Oh, I can feel it on my knees. And yeah, let's get back to the point of the video. I can jabber. I always jibber jabber. But so we got Frankenstein. And he needs some time for himself. There's spoilers. This is a Frankenstein spoiler book reading reaction. We'll get to the book. I'm just telling you, this is my first time going live, so I'm trying to tell you what I have read, because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna start over. Hell no. Last year, I got to page 99 last year. I'm farther this time. I'm in page 100 or something, like 101. But last year I got to page 99, and someone stole my book. I was so mad. I didn't want to buy another one. I didn't read it. And then I waited 1 year later. I started over. I got to the point about where I left off. And then I decided, you know what? Let me do a read-through reaction and see if people like it. You know? Iran strikes, fallout. Okay. The fallout from Iranian. I get news notifications. And I like the news. The news is crazy. The news is crazy. So, after William Justine died, Frankenstein started to blame himself because he created the monster, and so he feels like he killed him. So he took some time for himself in the mountains again, and in the lake, and then he sees the monster running at him in the middle of the forest, or in the middle of the ice, I don't know. Ice forest, snow forest. And the monster's talking English, PhD level status. And he's trying to tell him what he been through, right? And it's so funny because Frankenstein's like, I don't give a hell what you've been through. I should kill you right now, bro. I should kill you right now for killing my brother. And then the monster's all like, oh, no. That's not what's gonna happen. You're gonna hear what I've been through. Alright? And then Frankenstein's like, I don't care what you've been through. I wanna hear it. And then the monster's like, no. You're gonna hear, or I'm gonna kill all your family. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. That's crazy. And then Frankenstein was like, okay. I guess I'll listen. So the monster invited Frankenstein to his home, and he started to tell him his side of the story. And he's watching a family, and he sees a family like talk with each other, and that's how he learns to speak English a little bit. And that's about where I left off. He's just like telling him about he doesn't really understand the world, And so he's just trying to understand. He's telling us how he's tried to understand it, right? All right. That's it. So now I think we're going to start reading. So, yeah. I'm charging my phone, so that's why it's horizontal. Let's see where we left off. In Frankenstein. Because I don't remember. I'm in the middle of a chapter, unfortunately. So I'm not going to start from the beginning. Fuck you guys. I'm going to start wherever I want. And I'm kidding. I love you all, right? Where was I? Milk, bread, wood. I learned also the names of the cottagers themselves. Okay, good, dearest, unhappy. I'm just skimming. I don't remember where I left off. I spent the winter in his manor. He read to the old man and Agatha. I told you he's watching a family. It's like a blind old man. Agatha's like a little girl. And then we got a boy. Now, I can't tell how old he is. I can't tell. He is older than the girl, and I thought he was like maybe 12 or 13. But he does a lot of shit. Like I'm talking pulling roots. He be building shit, and like I don't know. He be fixing his house, and I'm like, I didn't learn how to wash dishes till I was like 20. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying? I couldn't take care of myself at like 12. So I'm like, maybe he's older than 12, right? So I don't know how old he is. I think he might be, honestly, like 15. Maybe 16. I don't know. I can't tell. But yeah, so we got that guy, or boy, I don't know. We got the little girl, and then we got the blind old man. And the monster is watching them, and he's learning how to live, So, let's see. The reading had puzzled me. Also perpetually presented. I easily perceive that, though I eagerly long to discover myself. He wanted to like reveal himself to the family. Like, yo, this. Oh, you know why? Because when they're not looking, the monster be like giving them wood, like to build fires, and then the two children, they go up. You know, they wake up in the morning. They're like, oh man, we gotta go hunt some wood or cut down some wood, and they walk over and there's like wood that they're like, oh my god, thank you, good spirit. So that's crazy. So the monster's a good guy. We haven't confirmed if the monster killed William and Justine. Well, William. It hasn't been confirmed. What happened was, he was like, let me tell you my story real quick, you know? That's all. And the monster never said he killed him. The book literally killed the little boy. And like really fast. And it doesn't tell you how. It just says there was a hand on his neck. It's cool. I've never read a mystery before, so it feels a little mystery, you know? This low-key my first mystery book. I don't read, bro. I don't read at all. Like, I've read some books, and to be honest, The Odyssey may be my favorite book. Maybe though. I don't know. I thought you were somebody I knew. Welcome, Leon. Seraphim. What does that say? Welcome, Seraphina. Interesting. Welcome, local Futa Gunner. All right. So, let's see where I am. I ought to make the attempt until okay. He wanted to meet them, to make them overlook the deformity of my figure. This sentence was good. This is a crazy sentence. Check out this sentence. I apply. Wait. This is a crazy sentence. Her sentences, Mary Shelley. Fuck. Bro, they're long. These sentences they're long. I'm like, what the hell? They're crazy. Let me find the sentence. I can't find the beginning. I can't find the beginning of a sentence. Comma. Oh, there's another comma. I improved, however, sensibly in the science, but not sufficiently to follow up any kind of conversation. Although I applied my whole mind to the endeavor, for I easily perceived that, although I eagerly longed to discover myself to the cottagers, I ought to make the attempt until I had first become master of their language, which knowledgeable might enable me to make them overlook the deformity of my figure. For with this also the contrast perpetually presented to my eyes had made me acquainted. Wow. That's really crazy. That's a crazy sentence. Oh, he's talking. The monster's talking, by the way. He's, telling his story. And this is some really good dialogue. Check out this dialogue. I had admired the perfect forms of my cottagers, their grace, beauty, and delicate complexions. But how was I terrified when I viewed myself in a transparent pool? At first I started back, unable to believe that it was indeed I who was reflected in the mirror. And when I became fully convinced that I was in reality the monster that I am, I was filled with the bitterest sensations of despondence and mortification. Alas, I did not entirely know the fatal effects of this miserable deformity. Wow. You see what I'm saying? Mary Shelley's not dumb, bro. She's not done calling him ugly. She said, hold up. I just told you in the doctor's perspective, he's abhorrent. He's a devil. He's evil. He's horrendous. And then now we're in the monster's perspective. And she's still going. She says, I was in reality the monster that I am. Bro, that's crazy. She's not done. 102 pages. She started talking shit in the beginning of chapter 5. Let me find it. I'm going to tell you how many pages she's been talking shit. Since page 43. So about 60 pages. And obviously, you know, there's a court scene in there. And there's a bunch of scenes in there. So obviously she's not talking shit like for 60 pages straight. I'm just saying. You're going to hear a lot of that. Mary Shelley's crazy. Yeah. As the sun became warmer and the light of day longer, the snow vanished and I beheld the bare trees and the black earth. From this time, Felix was more employed, and the heart-moving indications of impending famine disappeared. Oh, the sun came out, so all the snow starts to melt, and then they started to have more food in their belly. So I'm gonna skip that because I already read that. I slept to remember observing men when they had to rest or any moon and starlight. I went to he collected food. The little boy's name's Felix. Good spirit, wonderful. They think it's a ghost. Dumbass kids, bro. See? Well, back in the day. Ooh. You should have seen it in the beginning of I think it was chapter 6, like 7 or 8. Justine, when she was all like, I killed William, but she didn't. Imagine if she did kill him. I've been thinking that. What if by the end of the book, Justine actually killed William? That's crazy. And then the monster did it. Because the monster is like very nice. And he's like giving them wood and stuff. So, I don't know. Let's see. He hasn't discovered the motive for humans yet. He's trying to figure that out. He's trying to see what makes people do what they do, you know. Welcome. That's not anybody. Welcome, Ev Pen 1. I looked upon them as superior beings who would be LOL. That's kind of weird. I formed in my imagination 1,000 reception. I imagine they would be discussed until. I don't think I read that. I'm going to reread that. My thoughts now became more active, and I longed to discover the motives and feelings of these lovely creatures. I was inquisitive to know why Felix appeared so miserable and Agatha so sad. I thought, foolish wretch. She's talking shit still! That it might be in my power to restore happiness to these deserving people. When I slept or was absent, the forms of the venerable blind father, the gentle Agatha, and the excellent Felix flitted before me. I looked upon them as superior beings who would be the arbiters of my future destiny. I formed in my imagination 1,000 pictures of presenting myself to them and their reception of me. I imagined that they would be disgusted until, by my gentle demeanor and conciliating words, I should first win their favor and afterwards their love. These thoughts exhilarated me and led me to apply with fresh ardor to the acquiring the art of language. My organs were indeed harsh, but supple. And although my voice was very unlike the soft music of their tones, yet I pronounced such words as I understood and tolerable ease. It was this is a I remember this is a weird line. Check this line out. It was as the ass and the lapdog, yet surely the gentle ass, whose intentions were affectionate, although his manners were rude, deserved better treatment than blows and exercation. What? Execration. Execration. I think that means you're using a lot of energy, right? I'm gonna search it up. I always search up words that I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend. I'm not gonna pretend. I didn't know my chair could go down. I'm not gonna pretend I know a word I don't know. What the hell? And I don't know how TikTok Live works, so I'm not gonna risk. Exiting TikTok Live just to search for one word. You know what I mean? So I got another electronic device. What word was it? Execration. I think it means execration. I think it means using a lot of energy. Oh, execration. Is that what it is? Execration? Execration. So it means an angry denouncement or curse. I was way off. I'm sorry. I was way off. So it's a curse. What did he say there? Deserve better treatment than blows and curses. Okay, that's pretty good. That was good. I just don't get that what he's comparing ass to. Let me see that. She said, what a crazy line. She said, it was as the ass and the lapdog. What does that mean? I'm gonna figure this out. So the monster was talking about how and although my voice was very unlike the soft music of their tones, yet I pronounced such words as I understood with tolerable ease. Yet it was as the ass and the lapdog. So the lapdog, so he's comparing to himself as an ass, which I think is an insult, right? And I think lapdog means it's like a good pet, right? I think it means like good pet, and you know, you listen to your owner. You're a good lapdog, maybe. And but he's trying to say that even though he's an ass, which is I don't know, maybe an insult of some sort. I think he's trying to say that ass, that he's still as good as a lapdog, but he's an ass because he considers himself as a monster, I guess. That's what he just said. So but I'm gonna search it up and see if I'm right. I like to make predictions and see if I'm right. Frankenstein. Ass as a lapdog. That's a crazy line. What's Spark Notes? I forgot what this was. Okay, let's type in meaning. It keeps giving me the full fucking chapter. I didn't even need to buy the book. The title found refers to the oh, look. The title, found in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Oh, wait, but no, that's the title. Hold on. Refers to the fable of the ass and the lapdog, as told by French fabulist Jean de La Fontaine, 1668. In the fable, the lapdog receives a caress when he rubs against his master, but when the ass tries the same action, he is abused and beaten. I don't understand. No, I don't know. We're gonna move on. The pleasant showers and genial warmth of spring greatly altered the aspect of the earth. Men who before this change seemed to have been hidden in caves dispersed themselves and were employed in various arts of cultivation. The birds sang in more cheerful notes, and the leaves began to bud forth on the trees. Happy, happy earth, fit habitation for gods, which so short a time before was black, damp, and unwholesome. My spirits were elevated by the enchanting appearance of nature. The past was blotted from my memory, the present was tranquil, and the future gilded by bright rays of hope and anticipations of joy. Wow. Huh. Okay. That's cool. So he's like happy right now. He's all like, "Oh, this world is making me happy because it looks so beautiful. You know, whatever. It's cute. You know, he was just born." Chapter 13. I now hasten to the more moving part of my story. Ooh. Oh, hold on. I now hasten to the more moving part of my story. Ooh. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. I'm still live. I just exited, so I don't know. I guess it still works. I wonder if I can use hashtags. Let's move on. I now hasten to the more moving part of my story. I shall relate events that impress me with feelings which, from what I have been, have made me what I am. Spring advanced rapidly. Ooh! I've never been here. I think this is as far as I've been in the book, so hopefully it gets better, you know. Spring advanced rapidly. The weather became fine and the skies cloudless. It surprised me what before was desert and gloomy should now bloom with the most beautiful flowers and verdure. My senses were gratified and refreshed by 1,000 scents of delight and 1,000 sights of beauty. It was on one of those days when my cottagers periodically rested from labor, the old man played on his guitar and the children listened to him, that I observed the countenance of Felix was melancholy beyond expression. He sighed frequently, ha, ha. And once his father paused in his music, and I conjectured by his manner that he inquired the cause of his son's sorrow. Felix replied in a cheerful accent, and the old man was recommencing his music when someone tapped at the door. It was a lady on horseback, accompanied by a countryman as a guide. The lady was dressed in a dark suit and covered with a thick black veil. Agatha asked a question, to which the stranger only replied by pronouncing, in a sweet accent, the name of Felix. Her voice was musical, but unlike that of either of my friends. On hearing that word, Felix came up hastily to the lady, who, when she saw him, threw up her veil, and I beheld a countenance of angelic beauty and expression. Her hair of a shining raven black, and curiously braided. Her eyes were dark but gentle, although animated. Her features of a regular proportion, and her complexion wondrously fair. Each cheek tinged with a lovely pink. Did she come from a funeral or something? She sounds like she came from a funeral. Felix seemed ravished with delight when he saw her. Every trait of sorrow vanished from his face, and it instantly expressed a degree of ecstatic joy, of which I could hardly have believed it capable. His eyes sparkled as his cheek flushed with pleasure, and at that moment I thought of him as beautiful as the stranger. Who? Felix? What a weirdo. She appeared affected by different feelings, wiping a few tears from her lovely eyes. She held out her hand to Felix, who kissed it rapturously and called her, as well as I could distinguish, his sweet Arabian. Oh, this might be it. This might be Felix's girlfriend, which means I think Felix is much older than I anticipated. He's probably like, I don't know. I need to know because like it's a good picture in my head. And yeah, it's weird, you know. I've ran into issues where I imagine a certain character and then they be doing a certain action, but because of the way I imagine this character, like the action wouldn't work. So I'm like, oh, okay. It messes with my head, you know. It's funny. She did not appear to understand him, but smiled. He assisted her to dismount and, dismissing her guide, conducted her into the cottage. Some conversation took place between him and his father, and the young stranger knelt at the old man's feet and would have kissed his hand, but he raised her and embraced her affectionately. I soon perceived that although the stranger uttered articulate sounds and appeared to have a language of her own, she was neither understood by nor herself understood the cottagers. What? She was neither understood by nor herself and understood the cottagers. She didn't, okay. That's a weird sentence. I soon perceived that although the stranger uttered articulate sounds and appeared to have a language of her own, she was neither understood by nor herself understood the cottagers. Wow. What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? I think it means she well, it doesn't make sense. It sounds like she doesn't understand what she's saying to herself. I simply said, oh, I see. The monster can't understand them. Okay. I already got it. They made many signs which I did not comprehend, but I saw that her presence diffused gladness through the cottage, dispelling their sorrow as the sun dissipates the morning mist. This might be the mom. But she said Felix. Why didn't she say Agatha? Felix seemed peculiarly happy, and with smiles of delight welcomed his Arabian. Agatha, the ever gentle Agatha, kissed the hands of the lovely stranger, and pointing to her brother, made signs which appeared to me to mean that he had been sorrowful until she came. Some hours passed thus, while they, by their countenances, expressed joy, the cause of which I did not comprehend. Presently I found, by the frequent recurrence of some sound which the stranger repeated after them, that she was endeavoring to learn their language, and the idea instantly occurred to me that I should make use of the same instructions to the same end. The stranger learned about 20 words at the first lesson. Most of them, indeed, were those which I had before understood, but I profited by the others. I was losing it. Hold on. I'm high right now. Let me go back. Woo! Presently I found, by the frequent recurrence of sound, wow. Hold on. Some hours passed thus, while they, by their countenances, expressed joy, cause of which I did not comprehend. Presently I found, by the frequent recurrence of some sound which the stranger repeated after them, that she was endeavoring to learn their language, and the idea instantly occurred to me that I should make use of the same instructions to the same end. The stranger learned about 20 words at the first lesson. Most of them, indeed, were those which I had before understood, but I profited by the others. As the night came on Agatha and the Arabian retired early, when they separated, Felix kissed the hand of the stranger and said, "Good night, sweet Safie." He sat up much longer, conversing with his father, and by the frequent repetition of her name, I conjectured that their lovely guest was the subject of their conversation. I ardently desired to understand them, and bent every faculty towards the purpose, but found it utterly impossible. The next morning, Felix went out to his work, and after the usual occupations of Agatha were finished, the Arabian sat at the feet of the old man, taking his guitar, played some airs so entrancingly beautiful that they at once drew tears of sorrow and delight from my eyes. She sang, and her voice flowed in a rich cadence, swelling or dying away like a nightingale of the woods. When she had finished, she gave the guitar to Agatha, who at first declined it. She played a simple air, and her voice accompanied it in sweet accents. But unlike the wondrous strain of the stranger, the old man appeared enraptured and said some words which Agatha endeavored to explain to Safie, and by which he appeared to wish to express that she bestowed on him the greatest delight by her music. She played a simple air, and her voice accompanied it in sweet accents, but unlike the wondrous strain of the stranger, the old man appeared enraptured and said some words which Agatha might be actually translating. She might be translating. The days now passed as peaceably. That's what, peaceably? I've never heard of that word. You guys ever heard of peaceably? I've never heard of peaceably. I've never heard of this. Where was I? The days now passed as peaceably as before, with the sole alteration that joy had taken place of sadness in the countenances of my friends. Safie was always gay and happy. She and I improved rapidly in the knowledge of language, so that in 2 months I began to comprehend most of the words uttered by my protectors. That's good. So he started to get what they were saying in 2 months of watching. Poor guy. In the meanwhile, also the black ground was covered with herbage, and the green banks interspersed with innumerable flowers, sweet to the sense and the eyes, stars of pale radiance among the moonlight woods, The sun became warmer, the nights clear and balmy, and my nocturnal rambles were an extreme pleasure to me, although they were considerably shortened by the late setting and early rising of the sun, for I never ventured abroad during daylight, fearful of meeting with the same treatment I had formerly endured in the first village which I entered. My days were spent in close attention, that I might speedily master the language, and I may boast that I improved more rapidly than the Arabian, who understood very little and conversed in broken accents, whilst I comprehended and could imitate almost every word that was spoken. Interesting. Interesting. While I improved in speech, I also learned the science of letters as it was taught to the stranger, and this opened before me a wide field for wonder and delight. The book from which Felix instructs his Safety was Volney's Ruins of Empires. I should not have understood the purport of this book and had not Felix, in reading it, given very minute explanations. He had chosen this work, he said, because the declamatory style was framed in imitation of the Eastern authors. What is purport? I don't know what that word is. I will purport you. I think it means like to do on purpose. Appear or claim to do something. Oh, like profess. As a verb. But if you use it as a noun, the meaning of substance of something, typically a document or speech. I was kind of close, right? I think I was kind of close. Where was I? What? I don't remember. Okay. Okay. Purport of this book had not Felix, in reading it, given very minute explanations. He had chosen this work, he said, because the declamatory style was framed in imitation of the Eastern authors. Through this work I obtained a cursory knowledge of history and a view of several empires at present existing in the world. It gave me an insight into the manners, governments, and religions of the different nations of the earth. I heard of the slothful Asiatics, of the stupendous genius and mental activity of the Grecians, of the wars and wonderful virtue of the early Romans. Oh, wow. Awesome, dude. Who gives a fuck? Of their subsequent degenerating. But, I mean, I guess this is like I don't know. I guess everyone's been mean to him, but like, he's like trying to flex on us, you know what I mean? I'm just like, whatever, dude. Of their subsequent degenerating. And you know, he shouldn't have ran, well, I don't know. I might have run away if I built a monster and it looked at me with yellow eyes. So I don't know, bro. And it's like a big ass thing, and I don't know, dude. I don't know. And it's like, maybe I would run away. I don't know. Would you guys run away if you created a monster and it woke up? I don't know. That shit's kind of scary, you know. Let me see. Of their subsequent degenerating, of the decline of that mighty empire, of chivalry, Christianity, and kings. I heard of the discovery of the American hemisphere and wept with Safety over the hapless fate of its original inhabitants. These wonderful narrations inspired me with strange feelings. Was man, indeed, at once so powerful, so virtuous and magnificent, yet so vicious and base? He appeared at one time a mere scion of the evil principle, and at another as all that can be conceived of noble and godlike. Scion is a what? I've heard of the word, and I've heard it used in many ways, but I've never searched it up. It's a young shoot twig plant, a descendant of a notable family. Interesting. To be a great and virtuous man appeared the highest honor that can befall a sensitive being. To be base and vicious, as many on record have been, appeared the lowest degradation. A condition more abject than that of the blind mole or harmless worm. For a long time, I could not conceive how one man could go forth to murder his fellow, or even why there were laws and governments. But when I heard details of vice and bloodshed, my wonder ceased, and I turned away with disgust and loathing. Every compensation of the cottagers now opened new wonders to me. While I listened to the instructions which Felix bestowed upon the Arabian, the strange system of human society was explained to me. I heard of the division of property, of immense wealth and squalid poverty, of rank, descent, and noble blood. The words induced me to turn towards myself. I learned that the possessions most esteemed by your fellow creatures were high and unsullied descent united with riches. A man might be respected with only one of these advantages, but without either he was considered, except in very rare instances, as a vagabond and a slave, doomed to waste his powers for the profits of the chosen few. And what was I? Of my creation and creator, I was absolutely ignorant. But I knew that I possessed no money, no friends, no kind of property. I was, besides, endued with a figure hideously deformed and loathsome. I was not even of the same nature as man. Fuck! Woo! Shh, that was crazy, huh? That was crazy. Damn, that was intense. I was more agile than they and could subsist upon coarser diet. I bore the extremes of heat and cold with less injury to my frame. My stature far exceeded theirs. When I looked around, I saw and heard of none like me. Was I, then, a monster, a blot upon the earth, from which all men fled and whom all men disowned? I cannot describe to you the agony that these reflections inflicted upon me. I tried to dispel them, but sorrow only increased with knowledge. Oh, that I had forever remained in my native wood, nor known nor felt beyond the sensations of hunger, thirst, and heat. Oh wow, that's sad. Is he trying to say, I wish I couldn't like feel these things, like hunger and heat? Oh man. Of what a strange nature is knowledge. It clings to the mind when it has once seized on it like a lichen on the rock. I wished sometimes to shake off all thoughts and feeling, but I learned that there was but one means to overcome the sensation of pain, and that was death. A state of which I feared yet did not understand. I admired virtue with good feelings and loved the gentle manners and amiable qualities of my cottagers, but I was shut out from intercourse with them, except through means which I obtained by stealth, when I was unseen and unknown, and which rather increased than satisfied the desire I had of becoming one among my fellows. The gentle words of Agatha and the animated smiles of the charming Arabian were not for me. The mild exhortations of the old man and the lively conversation of the loved Felix were not for me. Miserable, unhappy wretch. Other lessons were impressed upon me even more deeply. I heard of the difference of sexes and the birth and the growth of children, how the father doted on the smiles of the infant and the lively sallies of the older child, how all the life and cares of the mother were wrapped up in the precious charge, how the mind of youth expanded and gained knowledge of brother, sister, and all the various relationships which bind one human being to another in mutual bonds. Bro, Mary Shelley going crazy! Woo! Right? Oh! She was going crazy right there. Whatever. But there were my friends and relations. Wait, that was a question, but I don't know how to make that sound like a question. But where were my friends and relations? There you go. No father had watched my infant days. No mother had blessed me with smiles and caresses. Or if they had, all my past life was now a blot, a blind vacancy in which I distinguished nothing. From my earliest remembrance, I had been as I then was in height and proportion. I had never yet seen a being resembling me or who claimed my intercourse with me. What was I? The question again recurred, to be answered only with groans. I will soon explain to what these feelings tended, but allow me to return to the cottagers, whose story excited in me such various feelings of indignation, delight, and wonder, but which all terminated in additional love and reverence for my protectors. For so I loved, in an innocent, half painful self-deceit, to call them. What? Okay. Chapter 14. That was sad, right? That was sad. That was sad. Frankenstein's monster. He doesn't have a name. Wow. Should we give him a name? Wow. Should we give him a name? Give him a name. I'm still alive. Alright. I don't know if I wanna. I don't know if I wanna. I forgot what I was saying. I'm high, dude. Fuck. Alright. Let's do this. Chapter 14. I'm a little nervous. She's it's gonna get dark, so I don't know how dark it's gonna get though. But I don't know. It seems pretty good so far. You see, I heard you're not allowed to read this when you're depressed. It's alright. I mean, it's a good book. I'd give the book like maybe 3.5. I just wish, well, maybe a 4. I would give the book maybe a 4. To be honest, I'm enjoying it. It's fun. I don't know what to read next. Either Myths of Mesopotamia or maybe, I don't know, Salem's Lot. I don't know. Some time elapsed before I learned the history of my friends. It was one which could not fail to impress itself deeply on my mind, unfolding as it did a number of circumstances, each interesting and wonderful to one so utterly inexperienced as I was. This is cool. It seems like I don't know if it's been happening for every single book or chapter, but at least in Frankenstein, at least in the monster's perspective, it always starts with no dialogue and then dialogue. It's like that for every chapter in the monster's perspective. It's like the first paragraph is always like trying to tell us what's inside of his mind, and then we move on and go inside into some of his dialogue. It's interesting format, you know. The name of the old man was De Lacy. He was descended from a good family in France, where he had lived for many years in affluence, respected by his superiors and beloved by his equals. His son was bred in the service of his country, and Agatha had ranked with ladies of the highest distinction. A few months before my arrival, they had lived in a large and luxurious city called Paris. Surrounded by friends and possessed of every enjoyment with virtue, refinement of intellect or taste, accompanied by a moderate fortune could afford. The father of Saifi had been the cause of their ruin. He was a Turkish merchant and had inhabited Paris for many years when, for some reason which I could not learn, he became obnoxious to the government. He was seized and cast into prison the very day that Saifi arrived from Constantinople to join him. He was tried and condemned to death. The injustice of his sentence was very flagrant. That's a good word, bro. Never heard of that word. Flagrant? What the fuck? What does that mean? Conspicuously or obviously offensive. It's a good word. Flagrant. The injustice of his sentence was very flagrant. Damn, that's a good word. All Paris was indignant, and it was judged by that his religion and wealth, rather than the crime alleged against him, had been the cause of his condemnation. Oh, God. I keep thinking I hear something in the living room, bro. Oh, I almost fell down. Shit. Add live goal? Huh. I don't know how TikTok things work. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. TikTok, interesting. I don't know what this is, but pin? I guess, I don't know. Alright, anyway, let's move on, yeah? Let's move on, yeah. Let's move on, yeah. Let's move on, yeah, 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 yeah. The baby's cool. Alright. Did I lower the... Alright. Did I lower the brightness? Did you guys see that? Like... I don't know. Alright then. And I like when you guys are able to see my face. I'm charging my phone. You guys are able to see my face. I'm charging my phone, you know. Let's do this. Felix had accidentally been present at the trial. His horror and indignation was uncontrollable. When he heard the decision of the court, he made at that moment a solemn vow to deliver him and then looked around for the means. After many fruitless attempts to gain admittance to the prison, he found a strongly grated window in an unguarded part of the building, which lighted the dungeon of the unfortunate Mohammedan who, loaded with chains, waited in despair the execution of the barbarous sentence. Felix visited the grate at night and made known to the prisoner his intentions in his favor. The Turk, amazed and delighted, endeavored to kindle the zeal of his deliverer by promises of reward and wealth. Felix rejected his offers with contempt. Yet when he saw the lovely Safie, who was allowed to visit her father and who by her gestures expressed her lively gratitude, the youth could not help owing to his own mind that the captive possessed a treasure which would fully reward his toil and hazard. You know, this is how the monster and Frankenstein could relate, because they both have a family that was sentenced for the death penalty. And you know, I don't know where the book is gonna go, so I hope for peace. 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 Where was I? Felix rejected his offers with contempt. Yet when he saw the lovely Safie, who was allowed to visit her father and who by her gestures expressed her lively gratitude, the youth could not help owing to his own mind that the captive possessed a treasure which would fully reward his toil and hazard. The Turk quickly perceived the impression that his daughter had made on the heart of Felix and endeavored to secure it more entirely by his interest by the promise of her hand in marriage so soon as he should be conveyed to a place of safety. Felix was too delicate to accept this offer. Yet he looked forward to the probability of the event as to the consummation of his happiness. During the ensuing days, while the preparations were going forward for the escape of the merchant, the zeal of Felix was warmed by several letters that he received from this lovely girl, who found means to express her thoughts in the language of her lover by the aid of an old man, a servant of her father who understood French. She thanked him in the most ardent terms for his intended services towards her parent, and at the same time she gently deplored her own fate. I have copies of these letters, for I found means, during my residence in the hovel, to procure the implements of writing, and the letters were often in the hands of Felix or Agatha. Before I depart, I will give them to you. They will prove the truth of my tale. But at present, as the sun is already far declined, I shall only have time to repeat the substance of them to you. Safie related that her mother was a Christian Arab, seized and made a slave by the Turks, recommended by her beauty. She had won the heart of the father of Safie, who married her. The young girl spoke in high and enthusiastic terms of her mother, who, born in freedom, spurned the bondage to which she was now reduced. She instructed her daughter in the tenets of her religion and taught her to aspire to higher powers of intellect and an independence of spirit forbidden to the female followers of Muhammad. This lady died, but her lessons were indelibly impressed on the mind of Saifi, who sickened at the prospect of again returning to Asia and being immured within the walls of a harem, allowed only to occupy herself with infantile amusements, ill-suited to the temper of her soul, now accustomed to grand ideals and a noble emulation for virtue. The prospect of marrying a Christian and remaining in a country where women were allowed to take a rank in society was enchanting to her. The day for the execution of the Turk was fixed, but on the night previous to it he quitted his prison and before morning was distant many leagues from Paris. Felix had procured passports in the name of his father, sister, and himself. He had previously communicated his plan to the former, who aided the deceit by quitting his house under the pretense of a journey, and concealed himself with his daughter in an obscure part of Paris. Fuck. It's a lot. Shit. There's a lot. It's crazy. That he ran into these people, you know. And, you know, they're mutual friends, but interesting stuff. Where was I? Where's my passports? Under the pretense of a journey, concealed himself with his daughter in an obscure part of Paris. Felix conducted the fugitives through France. Fuck, this is crazy. To Lyons and across Mont Cenis to Leghorn, where the merchant had decided to wait a favorable opportunity of passing into some part of the Turkish dominions. Saifi resolved to remain with her father until the moment of his departure, before which time the Turk renewed his promise that she would be united to his deliverer. And Felix remained with them in expectation of that event. And in the meantime he enjoyed the society of the Arabian who exhibited towards him the simplest and tenderest affection. They conversed with one another through the means of an interpreter and sometimes with the interpretation of looks, and Saifi sang to him the divine airs of her native country. The Turk allowed this intimacy to take place and encouraged the hopes of the youthful lovers, while in his heart he had... Oh, fuck. My kitty, she likes to bite my computer. It makes me nervous. Again, the hopes. No. What's up, bro? What's up? What a cute cat. It's a little tuxedo. She wants some attention. You guys want to see her? Cats are way too cute to not. Ouch. 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 She's biting. She's a moon dust. This is moon dust. Yeah, she's a little big. Ouch. What's up, girl? She doesn't like the camera, I think. I don't think she likes the camera, to be honest. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's continue. Hopefully, we finish the book in one sit down. You never know. I'm about 90 pages from finishing it. maybe 100. I think I have 100 pages. It's fast. It's not that hard. It's just intense. It's like it's dense, right? Um. Who exhibited towards in simplest. They converse with one another through the means of the interpreter, and sometimes with the interpretation of looks, and Safie sang to him the divine airs of her native country. The Turks allowed this intimacy to take place and encouraged the hopes of youthful lovers. While his heart he had formed far other plans. He loathed the idea that his daughter should be united to a Christian, but he feared the resentment of Felix if he should appear lukewarm, and for he knew that he was still in the power of his deliverer if he should choose to betray him to the Italian state which they inhabited. He revolved 1,000 plans by which he should be enabled to prolong the deceit until it might be no longer necessary, and secretly to take his daughter with him when he departed. His plans were facilitated by the news which arrived from Paris. The government of France were greatly enraged at the escape of their victim and spared no pains to detect and punish his deliverer. The plot of Felix was quickly discovered, and De Lacy and Agatha were thrown into prison. The news reached Felix and roused him from his dream of pleasure. His blind aged father and his gentle sister lay in a noisome dungeon, while he enjoyed the free air and the society of her whom he loved. This idea was torture to him. He quickly arranged with the Turk that if the latter should find a favorable opportunity for escape before Felix could return to Italy, Safie should remain as a boarder at a convent at Leghorn, and then, quitting the lovely Arabian, he hastened to Paris and delivered himself up to the vengeance of the law, hoping to free De Lacy and Agatha by this proceeding. He did not succeed. They remained confined for 5 months before the trial took place, the result of which deprived them of their fortune and condemned them to a perpetual exile from their native country. That's intense. That's sad. Such were the events they preyed on the heart of Felix and rendered him, when I first saw him, the most miserable of his family. He could have endured poverty, and while this distress had been the meed of his virtue, he gloried in it. But the ingratitude of the Turk and the loss of his beloved Safie were misfortunes more bitter and irreparable. The arrival of the Arabian now infused new life into his soul. When the news reached Leghorn that Felix was deprived of his wealth and rank, the merchant commanded his daughter to think no more of her lover, but to prepare to return to her native country. The generous nature of Safie was outraged by this command. She attempted to expostulate with her father, but he left her angrily, reiterating his tyrannical mandate. I read that kind of fast. Hold on. Yeah, Leghorn, Felix was deprived as well. Oh, wow. A few days after, the Turk entered his daughter's apartment and told her hastily that he had reason to believe that his residence at Leghorn had been divulged, and that he should speedily be delivered up to the French government. He had consequently hired a vessel to convey him to Constantinople, for which city he should sail in a few hours. He intended to leave his daughter under the care of a confidential servant, to follow at her leisure with the greater part of his property, which had not yet arrived at Leghorn. When alone, Safie resolved in her own mind the plan of conduct that it would become her to pursue in this. Safie resolved in her own mind the plan of conduct that it would become her to pursue in this emergency a residence in Turkey was abhorrent to her. Oh, wait. That's two different sentences. It's hard to read. When alone, Saifi resolved in her own mind the plan of conduct that it would become her to pursue in this emergency. A residence in Turkey was abhorrent to her. Her religion and her feelings were alike averse to it. By some papers of her father which fell into her hands, she heard of the exile of her lover and learnt the name of the spot where he then resided. She hesitated some time, but at length she formed her determination. Taking with her some jewels that belonged to her and a sum of money, she quitted Italy with an attendant, a native Leghorn, but who understood the common language of Turkey, and departed for Germany. She arrived in safety at a town about 20 leagues from the cottage of De Lacy when her attendant fell dangerously ill. Saifi nursed her with the most devoted affection, but the poor girl died. Hold on. Okay. She arrived in safety at a town about 20 leagues from the cottage of De Lacy when her attendant fell dangerously ill. Saifi nursed her with the most devoted affection, but the poor girl died, and the Arabian was left alone, unacquainted with the language of the country and utterly ignorant of the customs of the world. She fell, however, into good hands. The Italian had mentioned the name of the spot for which they were bound, and after her death the women of the house which they had lived took care that Saifi should arrive in safety at the cottage of her lover. Wow. That's pretty cute. Let me go make some tea. I'm still making my tea. How do I boost my live? I'm playing with the TikTok and I'm in great layout and I don't know how to put it back. That was fun, guys. I'm just gonna end it. Have a good day.